Ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you that tonight's movie left me physically and emotionally drained. It's been a long time since a movie has been able to do that. And the funny thing is, it didn't start out that way. I thought I was going to be bored. Just shows the Goya. Cinematic class is about to begin. Your professor is in. Say good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am your cinematic professor and purveyor of truth in movies. And tonight's movie is called The Outpost. Wow. Let me tell you about this movie. All right. First, it's the story of the Camdish post in Afghanistan and the Red Platoon. If you already know this story, then you're forewarned going into the movie. I did not. I did not find out about all the details surrounding this encounter until after I had watched the movie, and perhaps that's what led to my being drained by this thing. It didn't start out that way. In the first hour of this movie, it is total setup and character introduction. Well, you've got a whole whatever they put in these post platoons or whatever. So there are an awful lot of guys in there, and they're trying to introduce these characters through a series of vignettes. And it's almost sensory overload, and some of the vignettes are repetitive. They're just guy things, and it's like, okay, let's get on with it. And they don't. They keep dragging them out even longer, and it was a struggle to get through the first hour. Ah, but then. Folks, the second hour of this movie is the battle, and it is relentless. There are no breaks. There are no pull away from the action. Even when you're setting up an action sequence, okay, rules of the cinema tell you that you should have cutaway shots that take away from the action, and that will intensify the action even more. And most fight scenes are set up this way. Not this one. It starts and it just plunges all the way for the next hour. You do not have the opportunity to catch your breath. It's just bombardment on top of, oh my God, you can't believe what these poor guys go through. I mean, it certainly shows American valor and patriotism, but wow, at what a cost. Okay, so full disclosure up front on this, the movie was directed and put together by Rod Lurie, and Rod is one of the founding fathers of the Broadcast Film Critics Association. And as you know, I am a charter member of the Broadcast Film Critics Association, which has now changed its name and is known as the CCA, or Critics' Choice Association. Same a group, it just went through a name change to better reflect what they were doing within the organization. So, although he hasn't been associated with the association for a good number of years, he was one of its founding fathers, and so everybody in the organization knows him well. And I put that out front because I want you to know that I personally have never met Rod, so I didn't have a bias going into this movie. And like I said, during the first hour, I almost shut the damn thing off because I was starting to get, waning a little bit trying to watch it. But oh wow, what that second hour really popped this thing up. And then I was able to talk with some folks that I normally consult when military or police actions are in order, so I can check with these guys who hang out at the range and kind of have their wits about them and find out what's true, what's not true. Was this accurate? Was that not accurate? And apparently, this thing was pretty spot on, and what went through here was absolutely amazing. Like I said, it's very intense, and very draining, and as such, it's an exceptionally powerful film. I must say that at the beginning, I had my trepidations about watching this, and I'll tell you why. It's because the movie is based on a book written by Jake Tapper. And as many of you know, Jake Tapper stopped being a professional journalist some good number of years ago. He cashed in his journalistic ethics and instead became a professional propagandist. And he's been that way for a good number of years now. So, when I saw it was based on his book, I thought, oh my God, here we go. This is going to be soaked up with stuff that doesn't make sense. Like explaining that Benghazi was caused by a 8-minute video that only 30 people saw on YouTube. Nothing would wash in this thing. I got to give Laurie some credit. He took the politics in the book and chucked them. This is simply about the battle. But in presenting the battle, some things are blatantly clear as you're watching this. First, the military hierarchy at this time was filled with incompetence. Okay? Military people, generals who should know better, but instead of following military ethics, were following political ethics. As an example, anyone, even someone with as little training as I, knows you do not surrender high ground to the enemy. Who ever thought of that, But yet this military apparatus was perfectly fine with that and saw nothing wrong with it. Yeah. The other thing that comes through this blaringly, even though it doesn't say so, is that the Obama regime was also incompetent, possibly even traitorous. And I've been saying that for years, that these people basically were in office and had no idea what they were doing because basically they were social activists. And you can see now what social activists want to do to the country. Take a look at CHOP, okay? Take a look at what's going on in Chicago and New York and Minneapolis. These people couldn't run a vacuum cleaner, but yet they think they know how to run your life. So we have this whole, now there's a little blur, if you will, a little graphic at the end that says after this battle, a hard look was taken to see which outposts might have been in dangerous situation. What? It took this to get some action? You couldn't look at this and say, who the hell set this up? That's so blatantly off. So these guys were just incompetent. That's Obama and then Biden and Rice and all the people he had working for him. They were just a large collection of boobs. And though the movie doesn't come out and say it, just like I did, after you watch it, you'll go, oh my God, those people were freaking idiots. So, the political propaganda that may have been infused in Tapper's book was weeded out, but it still comes glaringly through that this thing was just a monumental screw up. Yeah. This is the only battle to date in which two different people involved in the fighting captured the Medal of Honor. And I've got to tell you one more thing that happens in this. At the end of the movie, they do interviews with a few of the guys who survived the battle, and as the credits are rolling. And those interviews are interesting. They really are. What these guys, talk about and things that went on. It not only adds gravitas to the movie you've just seen, but it really kind of brings it home because you know now that what you've seen on film, on the screen, is not some Hollywood bluster. These guys are actually saying, yeah, this is what we did, this is how this happened, and it's exactly what you watched. So it hits home pretty good. And I think that's part of the part that causes you to be emotionally exhausted afterwards, thinking, God, these poor guys, if they had just had someone with a little bit of smarts up on top, it's a good movie. A movie that can have that kind of effect on you is certainly worthwhile. And by all means, after you watch the movie, feel free to do like I did. Google the battle, see what you come up with, or better yet, talk to some people you know who may have been involved in it, or at least understand war tactics to find out that, yeah, what was going on here was basic incompetence. It's one hell of a movie, people. Let me tell you, probably one of the better ones I've seen this year. You do have to struggle to get through the first hour. Man, the remaining hour and 10 minutes, knock you right out of your socks. Now that you have learned what you have learned, you're into your lesson.